Ethan had always loved cars. Not the shiny models parked in fancy showrooms or the ones speeding down the highway, but the way engines breathed and pistons clicked in rhythm like a secret language only a few could hear. At 12, he spent every free minute at his mum's small-town gas station off Highway 50, stocking shelves, sweeping floors, or crouched beside old trucks, wiping oil stains off his fingers with a rag he kept tucked in his back pocket. His mother, Jenna, watched him through the dusty station window that morning, her tired eyes softening whenever she saw him lost in his own world. She'd raised him alone since his father left for good, and though their life was far from easy, Ethan never complained. His reward was the rare moment when a kind trucker popped the hood and let him peek inside, explaining what each shiny piece did to keep the beast alive. That's why, when the deep purr of an exotic engine drifted into the station, Ethan perked up instantly. He knew that sound wasn't from a Ford or Chevy. He wiped his hands on his jeans and stepped outside, squinting at the sun bouncing off the hood of a low, sleek Ferrari pulling up beside Pump 4. It was fire red, polished to perfection, looking as out of place in their dusty lot as a diamond on a gravel road. The driver's door swung open, and out stepped a tall woman in a sharp white pantsuit and sunglasses that covered half her face. Her heels clicked on the pavement like she owned every inch she stepped on. She barely glanced at Ethan as she barked at the young attendant to fill it with premium, tapping her phone impatiently like every second was wasted time. Ethan couldn't help it. He drifted closer, studying the curves of the car, the way the sunlight traced the Ferrari logo. He noticed the way it idled, a little hiccup in the otherwise perfect growl. His brows furrowed. He crouched down near the exhaust, listening closer, feeling the heat radiate off the machine like it had a heartbeat of its own. That's when her shadow fell over him. He looked up just in time to see the woman looming above him, her red lips pressed into a tight line. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped, her voice slicing through the hum of the station. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Ethan stammered, standing so fast he knocked his knee on the bumper. There's a sound. I think something might be loose." "Are you kidding me?" She scoffed so loud that a couple pumping gas turned to look. "Get away from my car. Do you even know how much this costs? Do you think I want dirty hands all over my paint job?" Ethan's cheeks burned. He backed away, mumbling an apology, his eyes dropping to his oil-smeared palms. He knew he shouldn't have gotten so close, but the ticking he'd heard made his gut twist. He knew what he heard. The woman pulled out her phone again, ignoring him as she took a call. Ethan lingered by the door, peeking back at the Ferrari with a worry. He could still hear it, the misfire under the hood, the belt slipping ever so slightly. He wanted to say something more, but his mother's voice called him inside, and he didn't dare push his luck. But as he stocked the fridge with soda cans, he heard it, the cough, the sputter. He glanced outside. The Ferrari had rolled forward a few feet before shuddering to a dead stop right at the lot's exit. Through the glass door, Ethan could see the woman slamming her palm against the steering wheel, her sunglasses now pushed up on her head as she cursed at her phone screen. Cars lined up behind her, honking impatiently. Ethan's heart raced. He wiped his hands one more time, looked at his mom for permission she hadn't given, and pushed the door open. He couldn't stand by, not when he knew he could fix it. Ethan stepped out into the hot afternoon sun, his heart pounding as he walked across the lot toward the stalled Ferrari. He could feel eyes on him. The other drivers stuck behind the sleek car, the curious onlookers filling up gas, even his mother watching anxiously from inside the little shop. The woman inside the Ferrari was still trying to start the engine, her frustration now boiling over into muttered curses and frantic taps on her phone screen. When she saw Ethan approach, she shoved the door open with a loud click. "What do you want now?" she snapped, her sunglasses now perched on her head, revealing eyes that were sharp but tired. "Didn't I tell you to stay away from my car?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Ma'am, I know what's wrong. If you'd let me take a look, I think I can fix it. It's just the belt." She laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that made his shoulders tense. "Fix it? You're just a kid with dirty hands. I'll call a tow truck. Now move." But as if to mock her, she turned the key again, and the engine only gave a weak cough before falling silent. The line of cars behind her grew longer, horns honking in frustration. She pinched the bridge of her nose and let out a heavy sigh. Ethan stood his ground. "Please, just 5 minutes. If I can't do it, I'll back off, I promise." She looked at him then. Really looked. His scruffy hair, the sweat on his forehead, the oil smudges on his sleeves. For a moment, her expression softened. Maybe it was the hopelessness of being stuck, or the quiet confidence in the boy's eyes. But she stepped aside, folding her arms. "Fine, 5 minutes. If you scratch it, I'll have your mother paying for it in soap and snacks for the rest of her life. Understood?" Ethan nodded quickly. He popped the hood open, the polished metal glinting in the sun. He felt the heat wash over him as he leaned in, hands steady despite his racing heart. He spotted it, almost immediately, a loose clamp on the belt. It rattled when the engine idled, and now it had slipped completely. With careful fingers, Ethan adjusted the clamp, checking the alignment like he'd seen. The older truckers do 100 times. He borrowed a small wrench from the station's garage and tightened the loose bolt, wiping sweat from his brow with his sleeve. Every move felt natural, like talking to an old friend. Behind him, the woman watched with arms crossed, her irritation now mixed with a reluctant curiosity. The other drivers craned their necks from their cars, some even getting out to see what this skinny kid was doing under the hood of a Ferrari worth more than his family would see in years. Finally, Ethan stepped back, wiping his hands on his jeans. He looked at her and motioned to the driver's seat. "Try it now." She hesitated, eyeing him warily, then slid behind the wheel. She turned the key, and this time the engine roared to life in a smooth, flawless growl that made every car lover's heart skip a beat. Ethan couldn't help but smile as he heard it. That perfect purr. She revved it once, then again, disbelief flickering across her face. She stepped out, leaving the car idling like a content tiger. For a moment, she just stared at him, the boy who had done what her fancy contacts and emergency calls couldn't do. "What's your name?" she asked, her tone softer now. "Ethan," he said, standing a little taller despite the grease and sweat. She reached into her purse, pulled out a crisp business card and handed it to him. "I don't know where you learned that, Ethan, but you shouldn't waste your time here forever. If you ever want to learn more, call me. I know people who'd pay a lot to have hands like yours on their cars." She got back in the Ferrari, the powerful engine purring as she pulled away, this time without a hiccup. Ethan stood there, staring at the card in his hand, feeling the weight of possibility for the first time in his young life.